My name is Gassia Apkarian, and I'm one of the founders of the Center for Truth and Justice. And on behalf of the Center for Truth and Justice, I'd like to welcome all of you to Yerevan, Armenia. Not a simple place to get to, depending on where you're coming from. I know many of you are tired and jet lagged. We really appreciate the fact that you're here. What I'd like to do is just take a few minutes and explain the purpose of these conferences. This is our third conference on human rights and accountability. One of the things I want to point out to all of you is amongst the Center for Truth and Justice staff and volunteers, all of whom are wearing either CFTJ shirts or have a pin on, are victims of war crimes and victims of atrocities and refugees from Nagorno-Karabakh, otherwise known as Artsakh, by Armenians. The Center for Truth and Justice is focused on the perspective of the victims of war crimes. That was the reason this organization was created, which is why they are here with us. What I'd like to do is make sure that you take the opportunity to speak to them, because firsthand stories are unlike anything else you hear. You might not be able to, you need to grab someone who's bilingual or can help translate, and there's many of us to do that here. The purpose of the Center for Truth and Justice, it was created in response to the 2020 war. Watching what Azerbaijan was doing as far as the atrocities being committed against the Armenians, this group of lawyers, mostly from California, came together with one purpose, and the purpose was to collect independent testimonial evidence from the victims of war crimes. In 2020, when we decided to do this, we realized that us lawyers from the United States cannot come to Armenia and collect these testimonies, because that's not how you do. You have to have it done by those who live among the people. So we started working with the 5 universities and law schools in this country, including, at the time, Artsakh, because Artsakh was alive, an independent republic with its own university and law school. We recruited young law students and trained them day and night. And from, I think we've trained over 130 law students. And from them, we recruited interns, and then from them, we hired staff. And their job was to collect testimonies according to all the international standards that most of you are very well aware of. And the reason for that was because evidence needs to be collected independently and not necessarily by a government. Otherwise, it becomes regularly inadmissible when being used and not objective. The organization grew really fast because last year, in September, during the blockade, our staff in Nagorno-Karabakh and Artsakh, despite the fact that they had huge problems with energy, food supplies, medicine, as Azerbaijan blockaded Artsakh for 9 months, our staff, despite that, worked and collected testimonial evidence of what the effects of a blockade on 120,000 Armenians is. Last September, I was here in order to do some work, and we all know what happened, and if you don't, I will tell you. Azerbaijan started bombing aggressively the people of Nagorno-Karabakh, and within days finally opened the border, and within about 8 days, 120,000 Armenians, in a matter of minutes, had to flee their homes to save their lives. And what I'd like you to understand is our compatriots made the right decision. They chose life over death to stay on their own lands. Me and my staff went down to south of Armenia, down to Goris, in order to see, to sort of find leads for evidence of what had been happening in Artsakh over 9 months, because no one could go in, no one could get out. We wanted to know what was happening, and we collected leads on evidence and literally waited across that bridge for our staff to make it across. And some of our staff members were the last Armenians who left Nagorno-Karabakh, because they were there to make sure that everybody gets out. Safely is not a proper word under these circumstances. They were traumatized, they were hungry, they were starving, they had been bombed, there were dead among them. Women crossing, it was a 26 to 30 hour crossing. It's only a 2-hour drive. That's how long it took for them to get through, as they had to cross this thing called the Hagari Bridge. Those of you who are interested, if you go to the CFTJ website, we have reports and reports and reports about all of these documented. Women had children on that road. The elderly and the sick and the injured died on that road. Children went hungry. Cars ran out of gas. And some of our staff members were the last ones to leave. And those staff members are amongst us today. So the reason I tell you this is I welcome you for the next 3 days to spend time with the victims and the refugees who are living in Armenia today. They have one wish, one dream, one cause, and that is called the return to Nagorno-Karabakh. It's a very complicated ask, it's a very complicated wish and a dream, but we don't believe in dreams, we believe in using the law to the advantage of victims. CFTJ is here to amplify their voices. I want to make a few comments about our program. The first panel you will see, the first speaker on the first panel is actually a victim from Nagorno-Karabakh, from Artsakh. She will not be here to speak today for a good reason. The Center for Truth and Justice works with other non-profit organizations. It doesn't matter, Armenian, non-Armenian, that is irrelevant to us, because human rights and atrocities and their rights are international and global. We have managed to send 4 victims of atrocities to the United States. On Sunday, they will be leaving to go testify in Washington, D.C. At the Lantos Commission. And right now, they are at the U.S. consulate to get their visas, which is why our first victim and speaker cannot be here, but it's for a good reason, because they are taking their stories to Washington, D.C. So not only you and those of you in Armenia hear it, but the United States and members of Congress hear it, and that's how change takes effect. Their stories need to be heard and not be told through filters or second or third parties. This is the first time we're sending them. It's very complicated. We're sending staff with them. They're not bilingual. They're traumatized. And yet they have the strength to go tell their stories. I've spent the last 2-3 days speaking to every single one of them to make sure they're ready for what is waiting for them. Most of them have never left this country or Artsakh. So those are the minor changes, but they're positive ones. But instead, what we're going to do is play a video clip that shows the kind of work the Center for Truth and Justice does. And Goharin, who was going to speak as the first victim, is in that video. I'm just going to give a little bit of a notice.
Yes.
One of our members from California pointed out that we should let you know that some of it is hard to watch. I didn't think so. I thought that we had taken out anything that was too difficult to watch. But that just goes to show, because CFTJ works with these victims so often, perhaps what we think is hard to digest is acceptable. But we want you to understand the truth. That's why this organization is called Truth and Justice. The truth is what needs to stand up. With that, I'd like to, first of all, also thank the dignitaries who are here from the Armenian government. We appreciate your support and your presence. I want to welcome everybody who's flown in. Some people have only slept an hour and a half. Thank you again. We'll make sure, that's my time. That means one other thing. I'm going to introduce a very good friend and our next speaker. As I said, there are changes in the program, but that's the nature of a conference. You can only control so much. Our first speaker was going to be the president of the Constitutional Court of Armenia, which is in some ways the equivalent of a Supreme Court, if you will. President Justice Dilanyan cannot make it because he actually has a delegation that he has to meet with from Iraq, an important one. And however, our very, very good friend to Center for Truth and Justice and a very well-respected member of the Constitutional Court of Armenia, Justice Vahe Grigoryan, is here. I will personally tell you that Justice Grigoryan is not just a friend to the Center for Truth and Justice, but is one of the pillars of helping Armenia move forward in the realm of justice in support of democracy. He has been a light, I would say the light, but light in the highest court in this country. Justice Vahe Grigoryan has a distinguished legal career marked by his appointment as Justice of the Constitutional Court in 2019. His expertise in human rights law and his international legal experience make him a key figure in the legal landscape. Before his appointment, he contributed to the Council of Europe for over 8 years as an international expert and trainer. Additionally, Justice Grigoryan worked with the European Human Rights Advocacy Center as a legal consultant, focusing on human rights advocacy. You understand why he's a good friend to CFTJ. His leadership role in the Chamber of Advocates as head of the Commission on Analyzing Case Law of the European Court of Human Rights further underscores his significant contributions to legal practice, particularly in the domain of human rights and judicial reforms. Please join me in welcoming Justice Grigoryan.
Honorable Judge Apkarian, Honorable President of the Court of Cassation of Armenia, Honorable Judges, Excellencies, other dignitaries here. Well, first of all, Gassia, I'm flattered by your words, and I'm a bit lost. It was a bit exaggeration. Unfortunately, President Dilanyan couldn't come today to welcome all of you here, and I'm speaking on his behalf and also on behalf of our court, and welcoming all of you to this very interesting international conference, which became a tradition already, a tradition that made reality Judge Apkarian by her human devotion and energy to that, and we are always pleased to be of your help and support the events like this. Constitutional Court, given its status and its specifics, it may sound a bit strange that constitutional courts with a non-governmental organization supports a non-governmental organization in organizing such an event. But we felt that our duty is to provide the floor for international debate, regardless whether we agree or disagree of the content of it or points made there. But organize such an event, organize such a conference is of utmost importance for Armenian legal community. Well, Armenian legal community is quite skilled and got a high level of professionalism, I would say. If I'm wrong, the representative of the government who fights with the lawyers before the European Court of Human Rights on an everyday basis may improve me. International Criminal Court and International Criminal Justice is a novel story for Armenian legal community. And when I'm saying about Armenian legal community, I mean the organized professional community here in Armenia. I'm not about brilliant Armenian professionals who fought those wars in the courtrooms in various jurisdictions or about various jurisdictions, about atrocities in various jurisdictions. But now, day by day and month by month, we're coming closer and closer to get that sense of what international criminal justice system is about on a very deep and detailed professional level. Although I would say that this sounds a bit strange, if not shocking, that we didn't do this 2 decades before. But these are not words of blame or accusation against or about those who could have done it reality, make it reality, and did not do that. I'm saying about this with a sense that we lost those 2 decades and we have less and less time for cherishing every moment, every day of peace, and for the lawyers to cherish the peace is to bring the war against human dignity and against legal order, pull it to the courtrooms. And until and unless it is fought ferociously and successfully in the courtrooms, it will continue in the peaceful villages and cities. And the outcome is almost inevitable. In many cultures, in many cultures, the justice is somehow associated with Greek deity, Femida. I always thought that deity would seek support also when it comes to international crimes of another deity, which is Ananke, the deity of inevitability. It must become war ferociously fought in the courtrooms in order to give relief for future possible victims. These were words of welcome, which I want to finish with welcoming you to this international conference. Also, as a judge, as a public servant in Armenia, which constantly took the path of making the regional peace, a regional sustainable peace. But an inherent element of that peace is the justice, not absence of machetes or firearms that is able to make the peace sustainable. It is the justice that add to it a stronger element for its sustainability. Yesterday I was watching Honorable Judge Apkarian's interview. I'm watching your interviews, be aware. And she said an amazing thing. She said that, well, we need to face the reality. We need to face the reality that there are a number of atrocities, ongoing atrocities around the globe. And if we will take their statistical description, they are even more heinous. They're even more difficult for human conscience to accept. But what I was thinking about that, when this wheel of heinous atrocity starts to move, at some point, all those who are in the control of that situation, or they think that they are in control, or other things also, they are not able to stop it. So the standard, so the path to those most heinous atrocities goes through those which are in perception, in our human perception, are maybe thought of a less importance to invest energy or resources to fight for. So, from the point of view of justice, it is the standard that should be kept. And regardless of statistical outcome, or statistical description of a reality, every situation which bells the ring that the will of heinous atrocities started to move must make us think that we need to act. So I'm looking forward to a very interesting discussion. And the only disappointment I have that I have to follow it online, not here in person with the panelists. And I hope that you will have some time to enjoy Armenian autumn here. And welcome all of you.